morning, everyone, and welcome to the second day of National Apprenticeship Week. We had such a great and insightful day yesterday, so let's keep the ball rolling. I'm your host, Andy from Career Map TV, and it's my pleasure to introduce the team from the Defence Equipment and Support team. They'll be going through what they offer for an apprenticeship and early careers perspective. We'll hear about the programs they have on offer, the recruitment process, hints and tips, and we'll also get the inside track from current apprentices who will share their experiences with us. Remember, there'll be a Q&A at the end, so if you want to leave any questions, pop them in the chat box and we'll come back to them at the end of the session. Without further ado, I'll hand over to the Defence Equipment Support team to commence with their session. Away you go, guys.
Hi, thank you very much. I will just start the presentation now. Hi everyone, so my name's Natalie. I work in Defence Equipment and Support, which is part of the Ministry of Defence. I am here with my colleagues today, James and Jack, although James I think might be having a couple of issues speaking and hearing us, so he may not speak, but I can see he's here. I'm going to be running through what apprenticeships we offer and kind of going through all of that side of the house today. So I'll start off with who we are. So we're Defence Equipment and Support. We're an arm's length body of the Ministry of Defence, which basically means we're a branch of the tree within the Ministry of Defence. We do the equipment side of the armed forces. So we make sure they have everything they need to do their operations safely and effectively. And that's so wide ranging. That's anything from boots on their feet through to ships, planes, food rations, plasters, all sorts of things like that. We have over 12,000 people who work in the organisation, and that's a whole lot of different teams across a whole lot of different areas across the world and the UK. We're predominantly based in Bristol, but we do have locations across the UK, and we also work on quite a few military bases and things like that. So yeah, we're quite a unique organisation, and we're a very busy organisation doing lots of things all the time. We also have not only the equipment side of our organisation, but quite a high presence in the humanitarian area. So a lot of our planes will go over to areas that need a bit of help and things like that. And we also helped out quite heavily during the COVID pandemic with ventilators and helping with the Nightingale hospitals and things like that. So it's a really, really cool and unique organisation to be a part of. So I won't go into this slide in much depth. I'll just run through what an apprenticeship is, just in case you're relatively new to it. It's basically a combination between work and learning. So alongside studying for a qualification, like you would in school or like in any other educational facility, you're also working with us as well. So you're gaining that work experience at the same time, and you're getting paid to learn effectively, and you come out at the end of it with an apprenticeship qualification. We do offer you at the end of the qualification a permanent role, so you're safe, you're not going to be chucked out after your apprenticeship. Once you've got a job with us, you've got a job for life, basically. So yeah, our apprenticeship schemes vary between 2 and 5 years depending on the program and which one you choose to go. The degree ones are a little bit longer, so they're the 4 and 5 year ones, and the normal level 3 apprenticeships and upwards are a little bit shorter, so a couple of years usually. You're given a couple of days a week on block release as well. So you will go out, and that's your study leave, and that's when you can go into college. And the colleges are all around the Bristol area where you'll be based. So our schemes are quite unique. We're not a standard apprenticeship provider. We've got, because of the nature of the work we do, we've got all sorts of things that go on. So there's regular travel for our apprenticeships. So we not only put on site visits and areas to visit around the country and world. I know of a couple of apprentices that went over to Germany just this weekend for a meeting. You also get to see some interesting things. So we've got the equipment side. You actually get your hands on the equipment. You could sit in a tank. You can go to a tank museum. You can go and see a submarine being made, all sorts of things like that. It's really cool. I've been on a flight before in one of my previous old teams. So it's a really interesting travel and actually getting your hands on the equipment side. You're not just sat behind a desk all the time forever, never seeing what you're actually working towards. And that links me quite well onto doing the important work side of things. So what we do is incredibly important. It helps keep people safe. And that is a really meaningful place to work and really meaningful for you. If you were to join us as an apprentice from day one, you will be contributing to UK security and the safety of our armed forces abroad and in the UK, which is quite cool. You're also, so we are a public, because we're part of the government, we're part of a public sector organisation, but we work so closely with industry partners. So a lot of the time we'll sit on the same office block, or our apprentices will go over and work for 6 months with our industry partners to get that experience. So you're not limited to just government work with us. You will get that experience, that wide breadth of experience to go and do whatever you want to do in the future. And so it's a really good place there. And also, one of our key selling points that I want to talk about is the fact that you will receive tailored training. So we recruit over 300 apprentices each year, and each one of those apprentices has a dedicated scheme management team. So they'll have a scheme manager who is there solely to develop them as a person and give them support and manage them day to day. So you've got that support there. You've also got the team support. So when you're actually in the team, you'll have a dedicated manager there as well. We've got all sorts of networks that are there, and it's based on what you want to achieve out of your career. So you have constant opportunities to feedback what you want out of your career, where you want to go, where you want to work, and what skills you want to gain. And then your dedicated management team and support team will help you get there. So we're quite unique in that sense. So the benefits of us, I've kind of covered a little bit of it already, but you earn while you learn on an apprenticeship. So they're definitely a great option if you want to get into that world of work, getting your foot in the door and start earning straight away. All of the costs for your study will be covered by us. That's supplemented with the government funding we receive and everything like that. We will pay for your experiences, we'll pay for your travel around the country to go and see things and get your hands on equipment and things like that. We're a very flexible organisation. So after 6 months in the organisation, you've passed your probation, you will get flexi time. So that means that you can start and finish within reason when you want. You can, if you need to finish a little bit early one day because you've got a personal appointment, you can. You just work the hours up at another point. Or likewise, if you work overtime and you work the longer hours, you will take that back. You'll never lose your own time if you've got a busy day and things like that. You'll start on 25 days holiday a year, and that increases every year you're with us until you hit 30 days after 5 years. So I've been here for 6 years now, so I'm on that 30-day mark. So I get 30 days plus all of my bank holidays, which is a really healthy amount of time off. So you can unwind and recharge and not have to worry about that. And you don't have to take your leave to do your study either. So you'll get your study days, and then you also get your leave to properly switch off, relax, and chill out. We also have quite a cool base. So in the Bristol site, it's a huge site. I think in total it's been built for about 8,000 people at any one time. It's never that much anymore since COVID. It's a lot quieter, but that means we still have the facilities available. So we've got a big sports hall, we've got an on-site gym, we've got coffee shops, we've got a restaurant, we've got all sorts of things on site, lovely walks around as well if you wanted to walk around and see a little bit of wildlife, all sorts of things on our site. It's almost like a uni campus in a way, which is quite cool. I actually missed it when we went into COVID and we weren't able to go into the office. I missed it because it felt a little bit like home, weirdly. I know that sounds crazy to say. And then the final benefit of like the organisation would be that we offer a discount scheme. It's kind of like the blue light card that NHS employees get. We have a military discount card, so you get a variety of discounts across restaurants, shops, gym memberships, all sorts of things like that. And then also, I touched upon this, you roll off of the scheme into a permanent role as if you were any other member of the organisation. You're safe, you'll not get laid off, providing you pass your apprenticeship scheme. You'll just fly off into the organisation and really start your career. And you don't need to leave us, or you don't need to go anywhere else to continue your career. We'll support you the whole way. So again, I mentioned it, we recruit over 300 apprentices a year. I think this year it's something crazy like 480 people we're currently recruiting for. Our apprenticeship schemes are currently open, and there are a range of different subjects. So we have a lot of different subjects. So if you've got all sorts of niche interests, there is something that is likely to be transferable to that. So we've got anything from corporate services, which is the business management or leadership side of the organisation, the business administration side. We've also got engineering related qualifications. So we've got things like cybersecurity or software engineering. We have finance and accounting. We have digital technology, which again covers cybersecurity in a slightly different way, data analysis, software development, project delivery, and operational delivery modelling and analysis. And we are growing our schemes every year. So there really is a wide range of stuff. So if you think, I really want to go and do this, check out our website, because there is likely to be something there that suits you or is transferable to your career ambitions. So something you might be interested in, this is the current pay structure for this year. So caveat, it always changes each year. It goes up depending on the cost of living and things like that. But currently, this is what you'd start on. So if you were doing a level 3 or level 4 qualification, you would start off on £20,800. And then by the end of the scheme, which is usually 2 to 3 years, you'd roll off on £26,000 a year. However, if you do a degree apprenticeship, which is a slightly higher level qualification, you would start off on £22,750 and then roll off on £32,500 at the end of 4 or sometimes 5 years if you go into the engineering side of things. Cool. Right, so that's me done. I'll stop talking at you now. We'll move on to the Q&A. So the last thing I'll say is to find out more, scan the QR code here, because that'll take you through to our page where all of our schemes are listed on our website. It's got all the links to apply if you wanted to apply now, ready for an autumn this year start, or if you're just interested for future years, check out our website. All the information's there. There's also a contact us page if you have any questions that you aren't able to ask today or you can't find on the website. Then you can email us at any point and we'll answer it. So yeah, thank you for that. We're ready for the Q&A, if that's okay.
On to the questions. So Mackenzie says, is there any working from home rules?
Working from home rules. So we work in a hybrid organisation. It's part and part. It's based on business need is basically what we say. So if you need to be in the office for a meeting, then you're expected to be in. But if you're not needed to be in, you can also work from home. It's based on whatever fits around your lifestyle, really. So for example, this week I'm in the office 3 times, but there have been weeks where I've not been in the office at all because I've had no meetings and I've had lots of stuff to get on with at home. Yeah. And there's no camera. The other benefit of our organisation is no cameras on. So talking about working from home, it's just voice. You don't have to have your cameras on. I know some teams do prefer it, but in all of the teams that I've worked in, cameras off, just voice chat, which is quite nice as well. So I sit in my pajamas all day.
Amazing. What is the most exciting project that apprentices could be involved with?
Oh, there are loads of different projects. I don't know if Jack, what have you got involved in so far? I'll pass it over to Jack, my one of my apprenticeship colleagues. He's on the project delivery apprenticeship. Yeah. So.
Good morning. So yeah, you can be involved in loads of stuff. I know people on my scheme that have been really spread out across all the domains. So you know, anything in land, air, or ships. I'm currently on Typhoon, which is the UK's main fighter jet, which I find really interesting. I've had the opportunity to go up to RAF Coningsby and actually see the aircraft, which was really interesting. I know some of the new apprentices are on the Ajax project, which I think is like the biggest project in mod currently. So yeah, there's a real wide range of what you can be involved with.
Amazing. Well, Jack, is there any experience that stands out from you that you've been involved with?
Yeah, definitely. So my last placement was in the boats team, and I had the opportunity to go up to a big commercial shipbuilding event in Southampton, which was 2 days, where we got to engage with industry, and kind of really expand my knowledge on the project that I was involved with, and to kind of see how industry do it and see kind of the different ways of working.
Mm-hmm. Amazing. A question from Tim here. Can you discuss the role of mentorship and coaching in helping apprentices navigate the career path at DE&S?
So DE&S has a wide range of coaching and support. I touched upon it a little bit earlier. We heavily emphasize the support element of this because we know we can't just throw you out into the organization and say, here you go, you're on apprenticeship now, off you go, fly. So there are loads of different coaching and mentorship opportunities. There's not only the actual traditional mentor and coaching, roles that you can apply for and get a mentor on. There's also a buddy scheme as well. So when you're pulled in onto the schemes, you'll get a buddy, you'll get a scheme manager, and then you'll also get your placement advisor and the placement delivery manager who is there to help you with the technical side of your role. So does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think that answers that, yeah. Question from Carla. How is my time split between work and studying for an apprenticeship? So I guess we'll ask Jack that. How did you find it?
Yeah, really good actually. So the kind of rough idea is we're supposed to do an 80-20 split. So I know some people that take either 1 day a week and kind of do just 1 day a week of either revision or learning. For me, I find that like doing it all in 1 day is a bit too much. Like I get a bit distracted. So I do 2 hours a day instead, and kind of make up my 8 hours that way. But yeah, it's kind of down to you. You can have a conversation with your delivery manager about how you fit your off the job hours around your work, and they're always really quite understanding. Obviously they're there to help you and support you. And yeah, as long as you get it done, they're normally pretty happy about how you do it.
Good stuff. Cheers. What are the biggest changes from Joshua you expect to see in the future?
That's a great question. So we are moving quite technologically at the moment. So we're trying to shift our focus onto the future. So we've got all sorts of new functions being created within the organization. We've got cybersecurity functions being created. Again, there's an emphasis on software analysis and software development there. We've got a whole new domain on the space area because everything's shifting towards satellites and the way that it works digitally up there. I'm in no means an expert on that. I've never worked in that area myself, but that looks like a really cool area to work in. That's growing every single day. And there's lots of new technology type roles that are being created because it's quite a hard one because we are providing apprenticeships into the business and they'll roll off their schemes in a few years' time. We don't know what the threats are going to be in a few years' time. We don't know what the landscape's going to look like. So we've got to almost predict the skills that you'll need as an apprentice in 5 years' time when you roll off and say you finished your degree. So it's about predicting that at the moment, and I think it will just keep pushing towards that technological advancement. The space area will grow and grow and grow, and we'll have all sorts of things going on in the space domain in the future. It's quite exciting.
Honestly, I don't know about your company, but a lot of companies recently are very heavily trying to aim for net zero by like 2030 and reusable energy sources.
Yeah, so we've got a sustainability group at the moment who are looking at how we can improve the sustainability of our bases and our site and the work we do. They've recently just put solar panels into all of our car parks. So again, with 8,000 so people that work on the site, we've got all this car park space that was going underutilized. So part of the sustainability group was that they've designed and built solar panels that will help to provide electricity and sustainability for the site and the way that we use resources, which is quite cool.
Amazing. From Ria now, how many other apprentices are there in the business? Will I be working with them?
Oh, yes, good question again. So currently there are around 700 to 800 apprentices and graduates, that covers that number. So at the moment, I think there's about 400 to 500 apprentices in the business. Specifically, and then 800 graduates, and it's all part of the same community. So yes, you will be working alongside it. There are big networks. So each scheme that you're on, usually there's each year around 30 to 40 people recruited. So as an apprentice, you're not on your own. You're pulled in and you start alongside a load of other different people. Jack, I don't know if you want to talk about what it's like on your cohort and the networking available and what it's like as a community.
Yeah, of course. So my cohort, we have a WhatsApp group chat. We always keep in touch. Anything we've learned, especially now that we're coming towards our exam, we're sharing revision techniques. Any good websites we find, things like that. So we're always in contact. And then recently, when they've just brought in the cohort from this year, we've had like quite a lot of contact through them. So we're now buddying up with them to help them kind of navigate their first few weeks. So yeah, we have a lot of contact with each other. The only thing I would say is we do tend to stick to kind of people on the same scheme as us. So I've only really had contact with other project professionals. I haven't really had any contact with anyone from, say, finance or engineering.
Great. Here's another one for you, Jack, from Yasmin. Can you share any team building or social activities that DE&S has for its apprentices and employees?
Yeah, definitely. So I've done kind of team building and networking in two ways. So actually within my team, so last year in the boats team, we had a few social events and like a Christmas party. Again, with a typhoon this year, we had a really good Christmas party. And again, with the apprentices, it was a little bit more casual. So we've just gone out for drinks together, just kind of familiarize ourselves with each other kind of outside of the work setting. In terms of like actually more within work, we have a monthly networking session where we have like a guest speaker who's normally someone kind of quite high up within the organization to kind of hear about their career path, what they've done, what they're currently working on, what kind of advice they have for us. So yeah, there is a lot of networking and kind of social events within the business.
Great.
Definitely. I can follow that up as well with there are lots of supports and social clubs as well. So even if you're not finding something you're interested in or people that you kind of relate to on your schemes themselves, there is the wider organisation. So there are all sorts of things. I think there's a rugby club, there's a football five-a-side club who play in the sports hall on a Friday and things like that. There's all sorts going on, not just sports related as well. I think I've seen a poker club. And all sorts going on. So because there are so many people, there's a wide range of interests going on. We have clubs that go on during lunch times and things like that. So I've seen a spinning, cycling class going on. So there's lots of different things to get involved in the organisation.
Great, it's good to hear. Question from Sarima now. Is there any opportunity to continue working with this company upon completion of the apprenticeship?
Yes, most definitely. So when you roll off of the scheme, providing you've successfully passed your apprenticeship qualification, you're given a permanent role in the business and you just become a standard DE&S employee and you've got a job for life then. Basically, there's at no point will you finish your apprenticeship and then you'll be kicked off of your apprenticeship, providing you pass and things like that. Yeah, you've got a job for life. So you could spend the rest of your career with DE&S, and many people have. So they've done an apprenticeship scheme and then they've climbed the levels and they're now at senior stakeholder groups within the business, which is quite nice to see.
Amazing. I know there's the one I always keep saying about how 85% of apprentices will be hired full time in that company after their apprenticeship ends. That's by a rough survey in the UK. I don't know what it's going to be like for DE&S, but a lot of companies are around 85 to 90% of keeping their apprentices on.
Yeah.
Let's on to the next question from Josh Lewis here. What engineering opportunities are there?
Oh, engineering. So I'd recommend scanning the QR code and going to the website for all the detail on that. I can give you kind of a rough overview of it. So we've got a few different schemes. We've got starting at the level 3 apprenticeship. So you can do that after your GCSEs. That is a very broad engineering focused qualification. You spend the first year in college full time, getting your hands on all sorts of engineering technical elements and learning that side of things. You'll then start working within the business in a very broad sense. You could be in any of our areas, helping on the engineering projects, helping with the safety side of things, helping with the documentation that's needed to provide the equipment safely and effectively for the frontline forces. And then that's that scheme. We then have an engineering degree apprenticeship scheme. So that is a level 6 qualification. You do that after your A levels or equivalent, and you would study alongside your work in that sense. So you go to uni. A lot of them do live in halls and have that university experience while they're doing that, and then also work at the same time. So you're effectively getting paid to study a lot during the first year as well as working, which is always good. So there's that is more specialized, because when you pick the engineering degree apprenticeship, you pick the area you kind of want to go into. So if you were interested in aerospace and the airplane side of the business, you would pick to do that, and you'd study a specific degree in the aerospace side. Or there is mechanical and electrical. There's that as well, so you could pick that as a specialism. Again, for all the detail, it's all on the website. That can explain it better than I could ever, because I try my best with engineering, but I'm not an engineer myself. But it looks like a fascinating area. And then there's also on that, there is another degree apprenticeship called the Digital Technology Degree Apprenticeship, linked to engineering because they cover software engineering. That is also cybersecurity. So that's slightly different to technical, like traditional engineering. That is more cybersecurity and IT.
Great. Well, everyone make sure to go on the website for the other apprenticeships. Question from Kim here. Can you discuss any pre-apprenticeship or onboarding activities that DES has in place to help new apprentices joining the company?
So we have, it's quite a funny one. So you'll go through, you'll apply on the system, you get through to the assessment day. If you pass the assessment day and you're given a conditional offer, you will then spend around 6 months getting your security clearance. So all you need to do is provide your information over for that. It's not something you need to worry about. But because of the nature of the work in our organisation, you do need a security clearance to work here. So during that time, we have to keep in touch with you, and we want to make sure that we're giving you all the information you need ready to start. So that's a range of different things. We provide regular, I think it's almost monthly letters that go out to your email, and it has interviews from current apprentices, it has interviews from staff within the organisation on what the work is, it has a checklist of things that you should be doing to do with your security clearance, keeps you up to date with all of that. And then once you get your security clearance, you'll be onboarded in on the first day and put into a week induction that we organise specifically for you guys. So that is basically a whole week of one-on-one time with someone who knows what they're doing, and a variety of stakeholders who come in as experts across the business to kind of say, this is what you're going to be doing, this is the equipment you'll need, this is the software you'll be using, here's your cohort, welcome to the organisation, basically.
Great. Question from Charlotte here. How will I be mentored, and how do you choose your mentors?
So how will you be mentored and how do you choose? So mentors are based on the best possible mentor relationship that we can give you. So whether that is, as Jack mentioned earlier, they are now, the second years are now buddying the first years, because they are in a position to kind of say, this is what I did, this is what I went through, I can help you the best I can because I've been through that myself. So we follow that kind of same approach for all of the mentorship relationships. It might not always be someone that's been on your scheme. Perhaps it's someone within the business who has many years of experience doing what they do, so they can help you from a technical aspect, or they can help you with your career planning and things like that. So that's how we pick it. And then the mentor relationship is based on what you need as a person. So you'd probably meet with your mentor and then arrange how often you want to meet, where you want to meet, whether you want it to be in person or whether you want it to be virtual, things like that. So it's quite flexible, really, based on what you'd want to achieve out of it.
Mm-hmm. Amazing. Do you know how many apprentices you take in aerospace?
Oh, no, not off the top of my head, I'm afraid.
No problem.
That would quite possibly be on the job advert. So if you go through to the website, no, because the job advert's closed now. So the engineering degree apprenticeship program, the aerospace one, closed earlier in January because it went out slightly earlier in the year. So I'm afraid that those numbers aren't going to be accessible to me right now, even if I just have a little look on my laptop while I'm here. I'm afraid. But if you email one of the contact us pages, eventually it will get through to our team, and we will be able to give you a rough ballpark of how many people each year. Obviously, we can't promise it because where we've closed applications for this year. For next year, we won't know until we talk to the organisation and we establish that. But we could give you a rough ballpark figure of what it's been in previous years.
Great. Question from Chris here. He would like to work on submarines, specifically design and build. Would DES be a good fit, or would a company like BAE or Babcock be better?
Oh, again,
talk yourselves
so
up
many
now.
good questions today. Right, so I don't have to talk us up in this situation, actually. So we have just split from our sister organisation, the Submarine Delivery Agency. So we no longer manage the submarine side of the Ministry of Defence because that is a separate organisation. But we are kind of sisters in a sense. So the Submarine Delivery Agency is a good place for you to look if you wanted to go. I think they still share our website at the moment because they're still a relatively new separation, so they're still on our website. If you look there, Submarine Delivery Agency, they have a range of apprenticeships too. They're always creating new ones. They've got project delivery ones. I think they've got engineering ones as well. So yeah, and you'd get a different side. So depending, I think part of your question was, would us technically, if we did submarines or the industry side, be better? It depends on what you want to get out of it. The government is more of a broad range, so you'd see the whole process through from design, from the people who use the submarines coming to us and saying, we need this submarine to do this. And then the design element of it, going through all of that, the manufacturing of it, and then getting it out into service. So it's out there, it's being used. We then still see that side. Whereas if you went to industry, you would be very much you'd be involved in the design and the manufacture elements. But then once it's handed over to us, you may get involved in the fixing of it if anything goes wrong with the equipment side. But you'd kind of be stuck in that area as opposed to seeing that whole big picture.
Okay, great. Question from Tim. Are you able to switch career paths or start any extra courses once you start as a full-time employee?
Yes. Yes, so I'm quite a good example of that, actually. I started in the organisation 6 years ago as a risk manager, and that was in the project delivery area. So I didn't do an apprenticeship or graduate scheme. I came in through a traditional standard entry route. However, so that's kind of what your question was relating to anyway. So I started off in a risk management role. I did 3 years there. And I got everything that I needed out of it. I learned everything that I could. Was enjoying it somewhat, but I knew I didn't want to do it for the rest of my career. So I turned around to my functional team who were there to look after me as an employee. And I said, I want to do something more people-y. I want to do something that involves this, this, and this. I enjoyed this part of my role, but I didn't enjoy this. What is there in the business out there for me? And they helped match me to the marketing and comms area within our business. So I then just quite easily, really, I stayed on my same contract, stayed on my same pay. I literally just moved over to a different area within the business. I'm now doing marketing, which is totally different to risk management, totally different. And I'm enjoying that. So, and that's quite common across the organization. We encourage Z pathing, which is moving from area to area to get that breadth of experience, get those different experiences, find what you really want to do in your career. You don't have to leave the organization if you're not fully happy in the role that you're doing. Say you do your apprenticeship and you come off and you say, right, this was fun, but I want something else now. There are so many different roles and teams and areas and everything's different that you can switch up and move around a little bit.
Yeah. Great. Question from Matt now. What's the average day for an apprentice? So, well, I guess that really depends on the apprentice. So, Jack, do you want to take me through an average day for you in the past?
Yeah, of course. So obviously, I think it depends what team you're in. So last year in the boats team, I would have, especially when I was a new apprentice, in the morning, I'd normally have a catch up with my manager, just kind of plot out the day ahead, see if I was comfortable with everything I was doing. Then it kind of just depends what project you're on. So you might have risk meetings, you might have meetings with the cost control and finance team, you might have meetings with the engineers. You might have an opportunity to go away for a few days and visit some of the equipment. In your first year, you'll have what we call classroom sessions, which is when you're actually learning from a training provider and kind of learning about how to be a project manager. Now that I'm in second year, I'm now revising for my APM exam, so a couple of hours a day I'm doing revision. So every day is, slightly different. You're always working towards your project, but as the project progresses, things are going to change. The start of a project is going to be very different to the end of a project. So it's always kind of evolving, and I wouldn't say there's anything that you can definitely say is going to happen every single day. But it is kind of dependent on what role you're doing and what project you're working on.
Great. To add on to that, Jack, what would you say was your biggest doubt about doing the apprenticeship?
To be honest, I'm not really sure if I had any. So similarly, I was already within the business. So I joined straight after my A levels, and I started doing a finance role. And it was always my intention to do an apprenticeship to gain an additional qualification on top of my A levels. So I wasn't enjoying finance, just didn't think that was for me as a career. So I kind of examined the apprenticeships on offer, and yeah, I wouldn't really say I had any doubts, to be honest. I knew, once I looked into Project Professional, I spoke to a girl that I knew that was on the scheme, and she said that she was loving it. She'd really enjoyed her apprenticeship. So I applied, and I was fortunate enough to be successful. But yeah, I wouldn't really say I had any doubts, to be honest.
Great. What was maybe the thing that stood out to you the most from doing an apprenticeship?
That definitely the ability to gain an additional qualification. I didn't want to kind of just rest on my laurels. I decided not to go to university after my A levels. So I thought I still wanted to go out and do something kind of better my CV. And I think the fact that, especially in my apprenticeship, you're kind of, it's a worldwide recognised qualification. We're working towards the APM, which is, everyone recognises that. So you could now, if I wanted to, I could go out to BAE or Babcock, like somebody else has already mentioned, and they will know what that qualification is that I have, and they will accept that qualification. So it's kind of just really setting you up for a good career further down the line.
Amazing. Get a lot of questions answered in the chat as well. We'll go from Hannah. Hannah's saying, I would like to take a gap year and travel before starting her apprenticeship. Would that affect her security clearance if she's abroad for 3+ months?
It can do. So it depends on the country, and it depends on how long you were in each country. It could potentially elongate the process, but that's why we give it 6 months. So the assessment centres are around about now in the year, so February and March, and you wouldn't really be expecting to start until September through to November, maybe even December in some cases, depending on the scheme. So that's why we give it so much time for the security clearance for situations like that. I have heard of people who have gone and lived abroad for a little while, and their security clearances do take a little bit longer. Yeah, so it can do, but it's the type of thing that's taken on a case-by-case basis. So yeah.
Great. What skills, Chris is saying, what skills are you looking for in the digital side of things? I'm guessing like computers and obviously all that.
Yeah, so having some kind of interest in or experience in coding for fun and things like that. It's not, so one of our taglines is we hire for aptitude, not for like experience or skills already. We will give you the skills and the knowledge you need to do the job. We're just looking for potential. So if you have that interest in technology and that interest in coding and you can kind of demonstrate it, then great. But if not, that's not going to be a limiting factor either. So more so we're looking for people that can like embrace change, are committed to diversity and inclusion, looking to seek out new opportunities to learn, devoted to their career and have ambitions to go and do something, whatever that be. People who are proactive and willing and just want to get stuck in. That's what we're looking for. We're looking for potential and enthusiasm rather than previous experience. But anything you can demonstrate that links towards the area that you're working in, then brilliant. That only makes your application stronger.
Great. Question for Jack. Obviously, doing your apprenticeship, what was the career progression like for you? Did you want to keep on going into the same thing, or did you sort of working in there realize, oh, there's this sector I actually want to work in instead?
So far, I've really enjoyed both boats and Typhoon. So I would happily go back to either, given the option. When I finish the scheme, I will be deployed into a third role. So the scheme decide that, and I can end up anywhere. But the experience I've had so far has been really positive. Both the managers I've worked for have been really pleasant people. I was actually offered a job back in boats once I come off my scheme. So yeah, I'd be really happy to go back to either. I do have an interest in working in the SDA. So in the future, maybe that's something I would consider again if I was able to transition over. But yeah, I don't know if that answered the question, but I think I would be happy to work again anywhere where I've already worked.
Great. To expand on that, how to word this, for doing the apprenticeship and then getting to where you are now, do you think you would have been able to do that through university, or like how essential was this apprenticeship in getting you work?
So I mean, when I looked to go to university, I wanted to do accountancy. So I never really looked into project management at university. So I don't know how widely available that is. So to me, the only experience I've had with project management has been through work. It's been through DE&S. So I'd say for where I am now, it's been absolutely vital, because I wouldn't have chosen to have done this at university. However, like as I said, I don't know whether it's available at university. If you went to university and got a degree, you could come back and join the degree scheme or the graduate scheme. So the graduate scheme would take you on, and then you do kind of a similar course to what I'm doing now, where you end up with the same qualification. But yeah, I'm not sure I'm fully equipped to answer that one, sorry, because I never looked into project management at university.
You didn't need to, did you?
No, I guess not, no.
Question from Josh: will there be opportunities in space engineering?
Yes, so I think there are a few apprentices that go and work in the space area. I'm not too sure exactly what schemes they're on, but I know they do. Effectively. So yeah, it's an area of our business like any other area. So they require apprentices just like the land area would, and the vehicle area or the airplane area would require apprentices. It's definitely a growing area, and yeah, I would say yeah, there is.
Great. Question from Dywick: what kind of preparation do applicants need to do before they sit their assessment?
So there are a couple of different assessment stages. So you'll apply online and put your CV through the system, and then go into online testing. So with those, you don't really need to do any preparation. It's the classic numerical reasoning and verbal reasoning type test and judgment tests. So it's just testing your skills and kind of the way you work. And then when you get through those and your CV goes off to SIFT, and then if you go through the SIFT and get into the assessment day itself, in terms of preparation, it would be about making sure that you are looking up how to best work as a team and how to include everyone, because there are a couple of different elements of the assessment centres. There's kind of like how you work as a team is assessed. So, you know, your people skills and how you communicate and taking on board everyone's decisions. So making sure you're kind of prepared to do all of that. There's also an interview element. So preparing your examples of areas you think they'll ask about. So, you know, how can you demonstrate, if you were going into IT, for example, like how can you demonstrate an interest in IT? Preparing your answers for those would be a good idea. I think the project delivery roles sometimes ask for a presentation on something you've delivered. So like a group project at school or uni or anything like that. So preparing as many examples as you can like that would be great as well.
Great. Question from Sadie here: what qualifications are needed for the accounting apprenticeship?
Oh, let me get that up for you while I'm here. Accounting apprenticeship. Finance and accounting. So you'll need 5 GCSEs, including English language at C/4+, and a maths at B or 6+, or the equivalent. And then it's also beneficial to demonstrate you have relevant experience in kind of maths and financy areas, or an interest in it and things like
that. Well, maybe to expand on that, how would one say or show of relevant experience in such an area?
Interesting question. Yeah, it would be just kind of like trying to get involved in as much as you can. It depends on your situation, what your background is, and what you've come. If you've just come through school and you're looking to do this straight out of school, what did you get involved in at school that really excited you? Did you really enjoy maths to the point where you were studying it all the time? Did you try and sign up for projects that would involve a little bit of maths or accounting type stuff? That's just it's almost, it's not a necessary thing. It's just, it will highlight why you're keen to apply for the scheme, really. So yeah.
Great. Question for Jack. Now, in your apprenticeship, what did you what did you take away from, obviously not the working side of it, but the values of working as an apprentice?
So I think you're really well supported. They make a real conscious effort to make sure apprentices are well looked after. When I transitioned over from finance to project management, the first couple of weeks I was clueless. I'd never done any project management, didn't really know what was going on. My manager kind of really took the time, at the end of a meeting, he'd have an extra half an hour with me. Say, oh, did you understand all that? Was there anything that you want me to go over with you? So I think, I'd say that you're well supported. You have kind of monthly check-ins with the apprenticeship scheme to see how you're getting on. They do kind of like these wellness checks to make sure, that everything's going okay. They do put a real priority on kind of, mental health and an apprentice's well-being. So the business does really look after you.
Great. Obviously, since a lot of the roles are working from home or hybrid, obviously I've talked about balancing sort of the work and studying, but how do you balance sort of work and life?
Yeah, like I'd say quite easily or quite normally. I do my hours. So on Flexi I can choose when to do my hours as long as I do my contracted hours a week. So for me personally, I normally do about 8 till 4 or 8 till 5. And then it comes to 4 or 5 o'clock, I can log off. I leave my laptop at my desk, and then I just go about my normal life. It's the same as if I'm in the office, apart from it saves me what is 2 hours driving every day, so I do prefer working from home. But in terms of kind of like work-life balance, I've never really felt much pressure. I kind of do my hours, and then I'm happy to go about like my evening as normal.
Great. Through your apprenticeship, is there any skills that you've sort of honed in on, or maybe verse yourself more or gain more experience in?
Yeah, definitely. I think public speaking. So in my finance role, I'd be in a meeting, but I'd kind of just be sat listening. Probably wouldn't have too much to say. As a project manager, you kind of have to take control of the meeting. You're receiving information from other people, so you've got to listen to them, maybe ask them some questions, make a note of the information because you might need it at a later date. Stakeholder management, kind of working with other people, looking after their opinions or wants, especially at the start of a project, when you've got to kind of define what a user group wants. So yeah, I'd say kind of communication, stakeholder management. Those would be 2 ones that I think have really improved since I've been on the scheme.
Great. Cheers. Question from Ruth. Now, are there opportunities for graduates with master's degree in marketing? I'm sure there is.
Oh, yeah. So our graduate schemes are very broad. Most of our graduate schemes, except for the engineering ones, accept any degree discipline. And you can do that with a master's, you could do that with a PhD, you could do that with all sorts. It depends on what you want to get out. In terms of if you were interested in going into a marketing role itself, we do have a corporate services group graduate scheme, which is the area that I work in. It's the function that marketing technically belongs to. So within DE&S, marketing is really quite rare because there's not much that we can market except for recruitment schemes. So with that, I think there are 4 marketing professionals in the whole organization, and there are like 12,000 people in the organization. So it is very niche area. However, that doesn't stop you going into areas that are transferable to marketing, such as communications, PR. You've got the media team who deal with press releases and things like that. So there are lots of opportunities. What you'd be looking for in terms of a graduate scheme would be the corporate services group graduate scheme, if you wanted to go into that.
I think we're right for now. We'll kick on with the questions. Kate's asking about the assessment day here. Is there an interview or is a decision made straight after the assessment day? Is it like a conditional offer based on A levels?
So the decision is made after the assessment day, and there are 3 or so different areas of the assessment day that are assessed. So yes, there is an interview as part of that day. Then there's a debate exercise, and then there is also a team working exercise. And obviously that changes each year, so it may change in future years. But those are the 3 areas that are looked at the assessment day. And then you are given the conditional offer based on how you performed on that day. And that obviously takes into account your provisional grades and what you're expected to get. And if you don't meet those grades, then that's a different story. Your conditional offer might get withdrawn because of that later down the line when you get your results.
Great. Ruth says, how do I apply for a graduate scheme? Well, Ruth, look on the left side of the screen. Follow that.
Yeah, so yeah, scan the QR code. So the graduate schemes are currently closed. They will open again later this year. We're looking at around an October-ish application open start, and then you'd be starting next September on the graduate September 2024. So yeah, the graduate schemes just closed in earlier in January. So yeah, scan the QR code, keep an eye out. When you go through to the Civil Service Jobs website as well, through our website, which is the government way to apply for a lot of our schemes, you can sign up for alerts as well if you wanted to be alerted for any future job opportunities. Follow us on our social medias as well, and we'll be talking about when we're coming out with those applications again on there.
I think to wrap up, a question from me here to both of you is, what do you think is the biggest value you've learned from working with the DE&S?
Oh, that is a great question. So for me, it would be teamwork and how important it is to make sure that you adapt your personality and yourself to deal with all sorts of different types of personalities, because in this organization you interact with so many different people. I didn't realize how different people could be in the way of thinking to me. So I'm quite a sensitive person, and I take a lot to heart, and I'm that person that sends emails that goes like, hey, how are you doing? How's your Monday going? And people aren't always like that. Some people are quite blunt. Some people prefer very to the point, let's get this done and go. And when I first joined in the organization, I wasn't expecting that. It was just new to me, which sounds silly, but I hadn't in school, you kind of interact with the same people over and over again, so you get to know them. Here I was like, oh my gosh, what have I done to offend this person? They're very blunt to me over email. And it took me a little while to realize they're not being blunt at all. They are just they think in a different way. They're very efficient, whereas I'm not as efficient. So it would be understanding there are so many different ways of thinking, and there are so many different ways you can work with people, and you need a whole group of different ways of thinking for something to get done. If we all thought the same way and acted the same way, nothing would ever get done. So that's what I've done. I don't know. What about you, Jack?
Yeah, I'd say similar, to be honest. Kind of having that understanding of, you do belong to a wider organisation. Not everyone's going to have your views. Not everyone's going to share your opinion. But if you can work cohesively, that's kind of how the best work's going to get done. So in the moment, my current team is huge. It's one of the biggest project teams within DE&S. So, there's 350 people, and we're all going to have different ideas about how to get things done. People are going to have different backgrounds, as engineers or project managers or finance people. They're all going to have a slightly different idea on how something should be done. So it's kind of just working as a cohesive unit, making sure that you're achieving the best possible outcome. Because, and this might sound a little bit dramatic, but, our equipment does go out to people and it does save lives. It could be the difference between life and death. So you want to make sure that you're producing the best possible outcome for them.
Great. Thank you very much, guys. That is all we have time for. We're out of questions as well. Big thank you to the DE&S team for joining us today, taking us through your offerings. Jack sharing his experiences as an apprentice, and answering your questions. Hope you all found it very insightful and useful on the call. I certainly did. The rules, remember, are advertised as well on the CareerMap website, so please take a look. And if you did miss anything, this is recorded and will be up on our website and YouTube within, I believe, this week. So do you have any final words for our viewers today?
Nothing from me other than just good luck in whatever you choose to do. If you're sat there making a decision between apprenticeships or uni, just good luck. Just take your time and don't worry about it. There's no pressure to rush to a decision.
Jack, what about yourself?
Yeah, I'll just say, if you're thinking about applying and, today's interest you, I'd say go for it. I applied for my scheme based on speaking to a girl that I was friends with. One of my best friends is now in the new cohort because he applied because of how I spoke of the scheme. So I think everyone speaks really positively of their experience. So, if there's something that interests you, then go for it.
Amazing. Well, there you go, guys. Thank you very much. And we'll probably see you in the next one. Cheerio.
Thank you, guys. Bye.